Lisa Morgan was a girl who grew up by the ocean. Born and raised in a small coastal town in the Florida Keys, Lisa's life was shaped by the sound of the waves. Her father was a former Navy man, but he had spent his years maintaining lighthouses and had chosen a life of solitude. Her mother was an environmental scientist. As a child, Lisa's favorite thing was to observe small sea creatures with her mother. However, what caught her mother's attention the most was Lisa's extraordinary empathy for animals. At the age of 5, she had stared for hours at an injured pelican that had washed ashore, begging her mother to help save it. Then when she was 9, she met Kai for the first time. He was different from the other dolphins. He had a pale scar on his back that looked like it had healed over time. Lisa named him Kai after learning from her mother that it meant sea in Hawaiian. Every morning at 6 a.m., she would walk down to the shore and release the fresh fish she had caught into the water. Kai recognized that sound. When they looked into each other's eyes, there was a connection felt only between people. It was as if Kai was filling the emptiness in Lisa's heart, because during those years, Lisa was lonely. With her father working far away, she was mostly at home with her mother, but her mother was often out conducting marine research. Kai was her confidant. However, Lisa's life was shattered when she was 11 years old. A violent tropical storm struck the town. That night, Lisa's father had set out to return to the town by sea. The ocean was furious. Radio signals were lost. Hours later, only a broken life vest was found on the shore. Lisa never saw her father again. The same storm took Kai. At least that's what Lisa thought. The next morning, Kai didn't come to the shore. Not that day, nor the next. Kai never appeared again. For Lisa, 2 devastations had occurred on the same night. Her father and her friend. The love in her heart was replaced by silent mourning and guilt. "I wish I had stopped him," she repeated to herself that night, living it over and over again in her mind for years. She was a quiet child at school. While her teachers admired the essays she wrote about animals, her classmates found her silence strange. In high school, she won a statewide competition with an essay on marine biology. This sparked her interest in learning more about sea creatures. But in reality, she was searching for Kai. She wanted to know, scientifically, whether he was alive or not. There was a hope. She attended university on a scholarship, specializing in marine mammals. She focused particularly on treating injured and traumatized dolphins. At every center she worked at, she researched with hope. Sometimes secretly, sometimes openly, she would call out Kai to the seas. Even if no one understood, her heart remained the same. She was searching for the trace of the friend she had lost. Life had carried Lisa to many places. From the coral reefs of Australia to the icy shores of Iceland, she participated in numerous research projects. But with every new piece of information, every new dolphin sighting, and every dive, the deepening emptiness inside her was not filled. Because she hadn't just lost a dolphin, she had lost her childhood, her father, her innocence. By the time she turned 33, she was a professional marine biologist. She was successful, her name appeared in articles, and she gave lectures at universities. But inside, she was still a quiet little girl. Every success couldn't suppress the one question echoing in her mind. Is Kai still alive? This question echoed in Lisa's mind in the silence of every morning. It was a sentence that disrupted her sleep, a phrase that mixed into her dreams. It was a longing that never left her, a timeless yearning that resisted the passage of time. One day when she was 28, she volunteered for a research project in the Marlborough Sounds area of New Zealand. The project leader was an old colleague from university, Marc Rivera. Marc was the complete opposite of Lisa, full of life, energetic, talkative. But he too carried a hidden sorrow in his past. He had lost his younger sister in a maritime accident. During their late-night conversations, they would share their inner pains. The bond between them was formed in a place deeper than words. Marc had learned about Lisa's past. Kai, her father, that stormy night in Florida. Lisa hadn't been so open with anyone in a long time. But Marc didn't just like her vulnerability, he admired it. One evening as the sun set and the sound of the waves faded into the background, a confession rose like a whisper. If someone like you can still live with hope, it means we can start over. That night, for the first time, Lisa slept without thinking of Kai. Her heart was silent for the first time in a long while. But life had always taught Lisa to take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. On the day the project ended, Marc was offered a new assignment, a rescue operation in the Arctic. Before he left, Marc asked Lisa to stay, to build a new life together, but Lisa could never forget the promise she had made to Kai. "I will find you again." Perhaps it was this commitment that had led her to leave love behind once more. Marc left, and Lisa was alone again. But this time, there was a bittersweet warmth in her heart. She had come to understand that love wasn't just about possessing. Sometimes it was about letting go. Marc never came back. Maybe one day, maybe never. 9 years had passed. Lisa was now a well-known expert who consulted on international ocean conservation projects and wrote books on marine mammal behavior. She traveled to different parts of the world, sometimes staying out at sea for weeks, just to speak the language of the waves. Life had matured her, but it had also isolated her. There was always an emptiness in her mind, Kai's eyes, and Marc's voice. One morning amidst her emails, a subject line caught her attention, one she had initially overlooked, but that now resonated deeply within her. OceanSoul Facilities, opening of the Dolphin Therapy and Rehabilitation Center. Sender, Marc Rivera. For the first time in years, her name stood before her. A chill ran through her. The location of the facility, Portugal, Algarve coast. Lisa didn't hesitate. She packed her bag, bought her plane ticket, and left without asking a single question. Portugal, Algarve. The ocean danced with gentle breezes, and the elegant waves shimmered in the sun. And there in front of her was Marc. He hadn't changed, but his eyes were deeper, his posture more calm, his voice softer. They both remained silent for a long time. They simply looked at each other. Time had not grown the bitterness between them, but rather the understanding. Marc showed Lisa around the OceanSoul facility. It was a center that rehabilitated dolphins using non-harmful methods and offered therapy for children. Marc confessed that he had created the facility inspired by the old conversations they'd had with Lisa. "This place, it was your dream, Lisa. I just echoed your voice." Lisa couldn't hold back her tears, because in that moment, the hope that Kai might still be alive was reignited. Marc told Lisa he wanted to show her one more thing. They took her aboard a boat and sailed to the mouth of a small cove. And there, first a dorsal fin broke the surface of the water, then that unique sound, and finally a blue-gray, gleaming body leapt out of the water. Kai. In that moment, Lisa understood. She recognized him. Even after all these years, even if they were thousands of miles apart, that bond had never been broken. The dolphin swam closer to the boat, and as Lisa reached out her hand, it seemed to lift its head, as if yearning for all the years apart. They locked eyes, and then time stood still. Lisa held Marc's hand. The rhythm of their hearts merged with Kai's call. The day they reunited with Kai was both a miracle and the beginning of a trial. Marc's face was smiling, but his eyes were filled with concern. He approached Lisa. "We've been watching him for a while. He's been separating from the other dolphins, swimming less, having trouble eating. I think he's getting older, and maybe his heart is tired." Lisa's heart ached. She reached out to Kai, and as they drifted together on the ocean, memories of the past flooded back. But now time wanted more than just memories. Marc and Lisa moved Kai into a special treatment pool near the shore. The facilities at OceanSoul were good, but not enough for Kai. Lisa reached out to marine biologists, veterinarians, and even old friends from around the world. Kai's condition was rare: weakening heart muscles, irregular breathing, and digestive issues. For weeks, Lisa and Marc spent their days by Kai's side. They worked together day and night again. Lisa stayed up until dawn, recording Kai's behavior while Marc tried to maintain the delicate balance between the ocean and Kai. Kai was weak, but his eyes were still full of life. Sometimes Lisa would rest her head on Marc's shoulder. Other times she prayed silently. One evening at sunset, as they sat together, Lisa closed her eyes and whispered, "Kai still reminds us of our purest side, of love, friendship, and forgiveness." Marc stared out at the ocean. "And maybe now we owe him. He brought us back together." There were small improvements during the treatment process. Kai started swimming again, and even though it was in short intervals, he began eating. Every sign of recovery was like a celebration for Lisa and Marc. But one morning, Kai swam up to the edge of the pool. He looked into Lisa's eyes. For a moment he stopped. His breathing slowed. Marc rushed over and Lisa silently leaned down. Kai lifted his head above the water and gently touched Lisa's hand. It was as if he was saying thank you. Then he gently drifted back into the ocean. His gray body disappeared under the sun, leaving a trail behind as he moved further away. Marc and Lisa, hands clasped together, silently watched him go. In that moment, Lisa understood. Kai hadn't left. Kai had been set free, and love, like true friendship, sometimes only requires knowing how to say goodbye. And love, like true friendship, sometimes only requires knowing how to say goodbye. Just like years ago, when Lisa left to find Kai instead of staying with Marc. That day, Lisa's heart had been torn in two, but deep down she knew Kai was a part of her soul. Nothing could truly be complete without saying goodbye to him. Now, years later, Kai's return to their lives was, in fact, a return to where it all began, deep in their hearts. Kai was no longer there, but Kai's presence echoed in every wave, every silence, every breeze. Lisa and Marc established a center next to OceanSoul in memory of Kai. They named it Kai's Echo. It wasn't just a rehabilitation and therapy center. It was also a place where people could learn to form genuine connections with animals. Children here discovered the world of dolphins, while the elderly shed tears as they listened to Kai's story. And every morning, as they walked through the center's door, Marc would touch the sign hanging on the wall. It read, Kai's Echo, where love, friendship, and freedom live on. Some friendships don't speak, but they never forget. Some loves, no matter how many years pass, return with just one glance. Every evening, as the sun set, Lisa would sit on a bench by the sea, her eyes fixed on the horizon. In her eyes, there was no longer the bitterness of the past, but the peacefulness of gratitude. Kai had not only been a friend to them, but also a teacher, showing them what it meant to love. He was a memory still beating in the heart of nature. And every time a child touched a dolphin, Lisa would feel that familiar sensation once again, because animals don't forget. And if you've truly loved, they never leave you alone. If you liked our new story, please like, share, and tap the bell to hear new stories told always.